everybody. I just wanted to do a quick overview on class number 3 for the foster care classes or adoption classes. Pretty much the entire class, they just went over loss and the grieving process, the different stages of grief and things like that. And they talked about the different losses that the kids go through. For example, they lose their parents. They, lose the school sometimes that they were in. They have to switch schools. They lose extended family, like maybe grandparents, aunts, uncles, their friends. Sometimes they have to, going to a new school, find a whole new set of friends. Just things like that. And the different stages that you go through in the grieving process. And that was pretty much the entire class. We didn't stay after last night, to ask any specific questions that we had. So, really not much to update on that. The one thing I did want to talk about is we got a sheet yesterday that we have to fill out. It's called a Strengths Needs Worksheet for Fertility Loss Experts. And basically it's different questions about people that have experienced problems with fertility that goes in as part of our profile, just to make sure that we are at a point that we can accept what has happened to us, I guess, and it won't affect our ability to be foster parents or to adopt other kids. And I just wanted to go over this because I'm pretty sure this is something that's probably pretty standard across the board that they have everyone do that has had some kind of fertility problems. And it just says that you should fill it out either individually or as a couple. And it's for people, stop it. Sorry, the windows are open, he's going nuts. Who have experienced the loss of fertility or have not been able to conceive a child or give birth to a surviving child. It can help you consider if fostering or adoption is right for you in terms of infertility issues. And it says, please read everything below and write out examples of how you have accomplished it or how you still need help with it. Some things may not apply to you. And then just compare the list, I guess, between your husband and you. But we're just going to fill out the one form. The first one is, I have decided that I want to parent a child and that parenting is more important than giving birth. I wrote that was a strength for us because we do have a desire to be parents and to have a family, regardless of how we end up being parents, whether they're our own children or, other kids. Number 2 is my decision to pursue fostering or adopting has happened gradually over some months. And I'm going to, I only started filling it out last night, but I'm going to basically just write that, we've taken about a year to decide that these classes are right for us. So we feel like we've, developed that over time. Number 3, I have not been able to conceive a child or I have grieved for that loss. I'm just going to go through them real quick and then I'll talk about them at the end. Number 4, I have sought information about foster care or adoption for several months. I am willingly pursuing fostering or adoption at this time. I do not feel coerced by my spouse or others in my family. Corky, stop it. Sorry. Any noise that goes by our house, he barks ridiculously. I have talked with at least one family who has fostered and at least one who has adopted. Over several months, conversations with family members and friends have focused on foster care or adoption. I have planned and discussed ways to talk with a child about being adopted or being in foster care. I feel comfortable about sharing parenting with birth parents, if not in person, then at least through helping the child have a positive self-concept and feel positive about self-identity and roots. I understand the difference between foster care and adoption. I understand if I choose foster care, I have an obligation to help the child to return to their birth family. I am committed to participate in a program as a way of accomplishing the above tasks. I feel comfortable about helping the children learn information about and or locate birth family and previous foster families. So basically you just need to go through and write, if you feel you've dealt with that or whatever and that's a strength, you write what that is. If it's still a need, you kind of write that in about what you still need to do. I feel pretty good about that, us being able to complete the form, because that's one of the main reasons why we stopped doing it the first time is because, sorry, I feel like I've had something in my eye all day long, is because I wanted to continue with fertility stuff and get to a point I just knew I wasn't ready at that point to go through everything dealing with, not necessarily dealing with like their birth parents. I don't have a problem with that. And I think that that is really important that kids know where they come from and whatever. But my issue is dealing with, and I hate to say bad birth parents, but that's, for lack of a better term, bad birth parents. I mentioned in one of my other videos that at one point we had custody over my husband's nephew, and we had to deal with his mom, and it was like the worst experience of my entire life. I don't know what her problem is, but it was just horrible. Like she just, I mean, I can do a whole separate video on that if anyone's interested. Not because of like my family business or whatever, but just because I really feel like that's what it's going to be like to deal with birth parents. She, would never accept that she did anything wrong, even though his sister actually went to jail for child abuse. She would never admit that she did anything wrong, and she pretty much would blame everything on her son, on her nephew, and everything was always his fault, and she just would never accept any responsibility in it at all. And she would always claim that she was a good mom, even though she hit him and, he was neglected. He was way behind in school. I mean, it was just a whole thing. And I think that's really an area that I need to work on in dealing with all this. I think that, we're more prepared than we were, because I think had I not dealt with that, I probably would be more naive about all of what had happened now, or all what will happen now. But like I said, if anybody's interested more specifically on kind of, because we had to go to court and we had to deal with his law guardian and all that. If anybody's interested in that, let me know, and I can do a whole separate video on that, like on my experience with that or whatever, which isn't necessarily a positive one. The court systems, I think, are just, in our area anyway, were absolutely ridiculous. And their inability to actually make a decision, and having us run back to court every 2 weeks. And of course, my husband's sister didn't care. She didn't work and didn't have a job and wasn't missing anything. We both worked, so we had to take off time all the time, and it just didn't matter to the judge. But like I said, that's a whole nother issue. All in all, I feel pretty positive about the whole experience with the foster care and everything. So, I feel like we've dealt with everything we need to deal with at this point in order to do it. So, and that's my phone. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.